we always compare Italian wines and French wines, which is good in one hand because we are the best both. But I think that you can find a point of fusion about them, and we can learn about the way of speaking in France, in Italy. And in France, we can admire the diversity that we have.
Welcome to another episode of the Italian Wine Podcast, the Next Generation series, where we aim to answer one simple question. What are the new generations up to when it comes to wine and food? My name is Karla Ravagnolo. Join me as we dive into the latest trends in Italian wine. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Italian Wine Podcast. My name is Karla Ravagnolo. I'll be your host for this episode of the Next Generation series. Today with us is an award-winning sommelier from sunny Puglia, who is currently working for a luxury hotel chain in southern France. His name is Alessandro Nigro Imperiale. How come he's in France and not in Italy anymore? We're going to discuss it pretty soon, but first, welcome Alessandro.
Thank you, Carla, to hosting me. Buongiorno a tutti. Hello, everybody. I'm Alessandro, yes, coming from sunny Puglia and living in sunny French Riviera.
Living the dream, actually. It sounds pretty beautiful. So tell us, who are you? I've touched already a little bit. I've mentioned you are an award-winning sommelier and that you live abroad. How come you're in France? How did you end up in wine? Would you like to tell us a bit about your background?
Yes, you said well, living the French dream or for someone else, the American dream, but in France, because as a wine lover and passionate about wine, I think for us, Italian sommelier, the big dream is to study and live in France. Why in France? Because it's the land of wine, because everyone speaks about wine, because I always say that French people have wine in the blood. They always speak about wine and gastronomy. Since I was 16, 17 years old, I used to work in a trattoria in Puglia, just, to have a few pocket money, let's say, at the weekend. And at that time started my passion about restauration, about, the guest service, and a word that today you can hear pretty much the empathy towards guests. Started working in a trattoria. I started as well studying wine. First at Enological School in Puglia, in Foggia, Università degli Studi di Foggia, about viticulture and enology course. Same times I started studying sommelier as well with the Associazione Italiana Sommelier. And for me, it was like a wave on me because I spoke about wine, I studied about wine and the guest service as well. After this path, let's say, I needed to discover something out of my region. And at that time, I thought was out of my country. So I could study the enologic course at Institut de l'Essence et de la Vigne à Bordeaux for 6 months. And there I could learn about French language. So not only about wine, of course, because, when you study wine, enologic, the lexic is the same because it's scientific words, scientific books. But I enjoyed their lifestyle, let's say. Coming back in Italy, I finished my study, starting working as a winemaker or assistant winemaker in a winery in Italy, and Bordeaux in the same time where I was in Bordeaux. But finished the studying, I understood that working in a cellar was a little bit too close for me, because you always taste your wine, and I needed more. I needed to speak with other wine lovers and not to close my mind, only one kind of wine. So I had the sommelier diploma, and with my wife, Rita, we decided in 2018 to prepare our luggages and leave Italy, arriving in Paris, first time 2018. We were hired by, me was La Dame des Piques, which is the chef, one of the most French female talent chef, Anne-Sophie Pic, was already my first one-star Michelin restaurant. I used to work with Paz Levinson, which is one of the best world sommelier from Argentina, and already open-minded about wine. My first class, let's say, was not with a French sommelier, which was very good. And my wife could have with Ducasse. After 1 year, 2019, I was in touch with Gabriele Del Carlo. Best Italian Sommelier 2011, that used to work at Georges V, so Four Seasons group. And so he hired me, and it was my first experience in a Four Seasons group. I stayed there 3 years at Georges V, so I passed my lockdown at Georges V. But in that time, I studied a lot about Italian Best Sommelier Challenge. And after, let's say, it was 2022, I had this opportunity, always with the same group, Four Seasons, to come in the French Riviera and have more responsibilities. Because at that time, 2022, I felt like was no more to learn in that establishment. And I asked to the group and they found me this great opportunity. So I'm here since 2022. It's now 3 years, yes, that I'm here.
That's a lot. That's amazing. I'm extremely happy and proud of you, if I may say. But
Thanks.
before like World War III starts again because of us, you mentioned at the beginning that for you, France is the land of wine, which is kind of funny because for many other people, Italy is the land of wine. How come that you are so interested and fond of the French scene? How do they differ?
That's a good question. You have two ways to see who is the land of wine. Italy, no doubt, because romance started in Italy. Okay, this is proved and already written. Why I felt in love with the France? Because the way they speak about wine. They were the first to organize wines. If you think, for example, Burgundy, the priests were the first to say, okay, this parcel is Burgundy Village, Gevrey-Chambertin, just to say, but this parcel is very special. The soil is different, the wine is different, the terroir is different, even if it's the same grape, which is could be Pinot Noir or Chardonnay, but this land is special. For us, this is a premier cru. Okay, it was the 17th century. So they already understood the way to say that a wine is better than another. In Italy, we know, despite best world wines as Barolo, Barbaresco, Super Tuscans, Brunello di Montalcino, we already know. But sometimes we forget that Italy is a wine country. We have 21 regions, and each region has its culture, its traditions, its grapes that you cannot find everywhere. Despite Chardonnay, for example, I would say Italy, I would say Australia, I would say America, okay, is a great grape that you can find everywhere. In Italy, if you go in, I'm going to say Puglia because I'm from Puglia. If we speak about Nero di Troia, you cannot find anywhere because it's from Gargano, it's from San Severo, where I come from, the northern part of Puglia. If you speak about Negro Amaro, you can only find around Lecce. It's unique. And I think that Italian, because I am Italian, when we live in Italy, we cannot oversee the potential that we have. French people, they know how to do it. They can say to themselves, we are the best because we have a Grand Cru Burgundy, because we have a different terroir of Champagne. I think we should learn about this. Italy, they starting to do this, but the way is not to copy out of country. Of course, you have to inspire by them, but find another way.
That's extremely interesting. And I know that you had the opportunity basically to step your feet in both worlds, especially because you were awarded both Best Sommelier of Italy in 2022 and Best Sommelier of France in 2023. How do you think these two titles kind of intertwine or helped one another? Like, how is your experience about that?
Good question. I won the Italian Best Sommelier Challenge, which is a challenge, properly said. I studied for a few years, and every year you present with other 20 best sommelier of the country, and you have to win. Okay, you have more practical to do. French Best Sommelier, I won the title thanks to Gault&Millau Guide, which is not a challenge. Gault&Millau is like, to give you an example, is like Gambero Rosso for Italy, okay? Which is very specific from the country. Today, I think that both helped me in my career and they still do it because they show that I'm comfortable in both country. I know pretty well Italy vineyard and the French vineyard. And today, in my wine list, for example, I show both. Okay, I'm in France, of course. So between 60 and 70% of wines are French because we are in France. I don't have to forget this. But the rest of part is Italy and very well presented. What they appreciate in Italy about my profile, because I move a lot in Italy as well, is my perception of Italian wines in France and of course French wine in France. Okay. Unfortunately or not, we always compare Italian wines and French wines, which is good in one hand because we are the best, both, okay, Italian and French, we can say that, or we are the first, it depends on point of view. That's why all over the world they speak about us, Americans especially. But I think that you can find a point of fusion about them, and we can learn about the way of speaking in France, in Italy. And in France, we admire, I say we because I live here, but I'm Italian, but we can admire the diversity that we have. And what people enjoy most in Italy, they go in a region and they discover food culture, they discover dialect, they discover wines, they discover wine pairing, which is great. That's why every year they travel in a different region. So for me, both awards are important. I consider always them both, but I cannot say that I prefer one of each. They're different, and I'm proud to have both.
Since this is the first time I'm actually interviewing Best Sommelier of Italy or Best Sommelier of France, could you please help us understand how this type of competition are structured? What is their goal? What is the competition about? And how did you prepare for them?
Starting from the beginning, my first challenge was what we call in Italy monothematic challenge. It was at that time, 2018, it was a Nero di Troia challenge. Okay, so you prepare only on one grape, okay, and see the shadows of this only grape. After that, I tried the regional one in 2019, so Puglia Best Sommelier competition, and I won the first year. Of course, if you are a little bit ambitious and you won at the first time, first to try the regional one, you want to grow up and try the national one, which is totally different because you not only have to study and prepare about Italy, it's easy like that. You have to know everything, and you have not a guide about the country competition. Okay, I say Italy, but could be England, could be French as well. You have to know about beers, about spirits, about service, about tea, about sake, about so everything beverage, but not only about food as well. Deeply understand France wines, of course, and Spain and Germany and out of Europe as well. So for me, 2020 was the important year about studying because of lockdown. At that time, I didn't work because everything was closed. I think we remember that period. And I focused myself on studying wines. So I started about Italy. You have to know Italy. Like we say in Italy, come le tue dita, as your fingers, okay, in your hand, but everything about beverage specifically. 2019, the year where I won the regional competition, I wasn't ready. Okay, I was there, but I couldn't understand the Italian challenge. I studied for 2 years. In 2022, I don't know if I was ready, but as I always say, you need a little bit of luck. Okay, it's important in the life. You can study, you can be determined and disciplined, but you need a chance a little bit. And the theoretically part was good for me. So I moved to the next step. In that case, you are on the stage and is mainly testing skills, service skills, but I was ready because I work in this domain. I do this every day, so it's a part of my life. And after the final, the B language testing as well, I won. And I recognized the wines, the blind tasting. The service was good, the wine pairing was good, but I was lucky.
Nice. As you mentioned that luck is very much needed. But I'm sure you were also like extremely talented and knowledgeable. If you had to give a tip for anyone who's interested in trying or who is considering trying their first experience in this type of competition, what would you suggest? What would you recommend?
First of all, find someone that can lead you, a mentor, because if you have no one, you don't know how to do it. I always tried to find someone that knew better than me. It was in that case was the challenge competition, but you can apply this in everything in your life. Learn from the best, how they say. So that's the first step. Be focused in your goal. If you believe in it, you have to insist, and one day it will come. And psychology, I was ready that one day I win this competition. I didn't know when, but I was ready to this because I was very focused on this. Because when you study in this kind of challenge, you work as well. And you know that in our field is 10 hours, 12 hours of service. So after this, you come back home, you say goodnight to your partner, and you start studying every day for 2, 3, or 4 hours. You sacrifice something. I sacrifice time, okay? But I had the chance to have my actual wife that always believed in me and supporting me. But I sacrificed time, this and weekends, and avoid get out with friends, so a lot of things. So just be conscientious and focus on it. Don't think that this goal is the final one. If you think about that could be the beginning of a new path, you don't stop. You don't stop it, but you continue following other goal.
Yeah, totally agree. Also, because I remember you told me you are a dreamer, which is something that I really, really love. What I think that this actually defines or could be one of the many definitions of a dreamer. So, my question for you is you've accomplished many things, including the title of best sommelier. But what is your next big goal? What is your next dream?
I have one that I try to accomplish in 2 or 3 years. I would like to, I'm Italian, I'm in France, I'm proud of what I do. I have a good team because I cannot do it alone. I have 8 sommeliers with me. I have a good boss that follow my ambitions and my dream. I would like to manage more people, more sommeliers teams around Europe. So next step, I'm trying to improve myself in wine and beverage vision. I would like to manage more establishment with more leaders. Yeah, that's next step.
You mentioned wine and beverage and not just wine. And I'm sure that's not a random choice of or a random selection of words. Why do you think it's important to consider both wine and beverage, like to expand the knowledge?
If you see what happens today in the restoration field, you have always floor team, sommelier team, and barman team. They work with the only goal, which is try to make happy customer. We don't forget this, but they work separately. We speak as a professional about this fusion between floor and sommelier team, but it doesn't happen. I don't know why. Because the first fusion has to be between the head sommelier and the head waiter or maître d'hôtel or director of the restaurant. I think beverage today could be the fusion between barman team and sommelier team. You could improve themselves with masterclass, with specific trainings, because when the guest is seated and it doesn't want wine, what do you say today? Okay, the guest doesn't want wine, so I leave it alone. You take in charge of him. But if you knew about cocktails, if you knew about low alcohol drinks or no alcoholic drinks, just to avoid the no alcoholic wines, that's another problem. But you can find a solution, because your goal, your objective is how we grow up in this kind of establishment is never say no. Okay, find a solution. For me, today the solution is not non-alcoholic wine because with the creation in cocktail, you have something handmade, you have something crafted. So it takes something more, okay, in the creativity, in the technique as well. So next step for me is to train bar equipe and the sommelier equipe to work together. I think you can boost the experience and the sales as well, because we don't forget that we have goals, we are in the business, and which is important for the owners as well.
Nice. In this vision, as you mentioned, the sommelier or the person serving and like supporting the client is someone extremely knowledgeable about both wine, cocktails, sake, and other type of beverages. But my question for you is, what is actually the role of a sommelier in meaning like how should they communicate and better support and help the selection choice, the guidance of the client in what they should be drinking?
Sommelier, I think, is a dream work because you basically is a relation work, social relation work. Because first of all, you create your wine list, and to be honest, that was my first accomplishment in 2022 when I arrived here to see my wine list. My first wine list is my baby today, my first baby. And how you do it? First of all, you analyze your customers. Because if you create a wine list that you love, but you think about yourself and you are selfish in the decisions, but guests don't love, you lose. Guests don't follow you. First of all, analyze your guests, your benchmark. Second thing, you have to keep relations with wine growers, with the vigneron, with the wineries. You have to go there. You have to travel. So it's a travel work for who that love travel. And I am in France, so I travel both in Italy and France. When you travel, I don't have to say this, but you travel, you open your mind, you meet people, and you grow your mind, okay? And third, you have to try to discover something new because people are always looking for something new. If we speak about Italy, let's say this is simple because the opportunity to find something new is great in each region. In France, for example, what we do today, because the demand is especially about Burgundy and Champagne, okay? That's the mainly demand, and I think in Italy as well about French wines. Try something new. Go to see the new generation winemaker. See what they do. See why they do it. Now, for example, the next generation Burgundy winemaker, I think you already have heard about them, but they are people which are not locals, sometimes Japanese or Chinese, that go there, they buy some parcel everywhere in Burgundy, usually the less expensive today because Burgundy is so expensive, and they own the wine. Why not? If they have experience. Because if you know them, if you meet them, you discover that they learned about the best. So they know how to do it. Burgundy today is too expensive for everyone, okay? It's starting to be a elite wine lovers or wine drinkers. Young generation, the novice, they are not looking for 100 euros bottles. They cannot, and I understand. But follow this new generation and see what they do. In Italy, in France, Burgundy, Champagne as well, this new generation about, thanks to Celos, that founded the new vision of Champagne. And you have a lot of people, a lot of young winemakers, they are doing something special. So I think your axes are see your guests, your benchmark, and find something new. But this is not only this, you have to train your team. You have to lead your team because they have to follow you and follow your philosophy. You cannot do it alone, as always, as everything. You need people, you need confiance, you need the trustness.
Coming to the last three questions that are the ritual ones, what do you think is the biggest misconception the wine industry has about young people?
I'm gonna be rude in what I say, but I don't know today if I am young or old. I think we should take this problem on ourselves. Because if young people, but okay, let's say young 18 years old, 20 years old, they don't drink wine as a culture, okay, it's our fault, okay? Because we are not capable of teach them about our culture. We are Italian, okay? We know that the Sunday lunch is important for us, okay? Around the table with family. If we don't teach them that we drink a bottle of wine because, first of all, it's good for the santé, for the health, okay? This is already proved in a good quantity. If we don't explain them that wine is local and is traditional and is paired with the lunch, I think that's our fault. So they grow with no sense of culture. Wine is culture. We cannot be scared today about wine. Wine consumption is decreasing lately, okay? No alcohol wines. They prefer the cheapest cocktail because it's the same. You should have a good cocktail with a good products, with a good spirits and a good fresh juice or whatever. If we don't explain to them that this is a tradition, a culture, I think we should bring on us.
Yeah, totally. That's a very wise, I would say, analysis.
I grew up in a family with the wine was nothing, okay? My parents are in a different field, so I was the first in the family, okay? When I was young, I was younger, so 18 years old, 20 years old, when I began with the wines, my mother put water in the wine, okay? And I was very nervous about this. I left the table. I said, Mama, stop it. This is not possible. I study wine. I'm talking about culture. I'm doing my life about wine. Few years ago, so leaving my family, leaving Italy, now I see my family, my parents, 1, 2, or 3 times per year. And I come back and I take a good bottle on the table. I ask to my mother, can I put some water? Yes, thanks. Grazie, Alessandro. Because they didn't grow up with this culture. But now, after 10 years or 15 years that I'm on this, I know my mother changed the perception. My father now drink with me a glass of wine. Instead, Coca-Cola. Instead, sodas. For me, it is a change. So they accept this, but now, in the other hand, I accepted this. It takes time, but you have to be constant and you have to believe in it.
Yeah, 100%, 100% agree. So, moving on, what is the biggest misconception that young people have about wine?
We live a very difficult period about younger generation because they don't believe in their future. They don't want be as our parents that engaged their own life to get retired with a good salary and live life after retired. My parents grown like this, okay? Find your place, stay more as you can. Today is different because young people can do a good videos on Instagram, have a good idea, find an investor and have millions or billions dollar or euros with them. So they have no sense about money and sacrifice. They don't want to sacrifice themselves to live. They prefer to do nothing instead to know that one day maybe they will live their life, which is very difficult when you speak with them. I see with my sommeliers, okay, they are lost. I think we should try to explain that life is good, life is wonderful. You have to live your days with people. So the human side that sometimes we forget, meeting people, enjoy life, stay healthy, stay good, and live with emotions. I think that's the problem today. If you say them what you want to do tomorrow, what's your goals in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, they are lost. If we can and we like to spend time with people, I think in each moment of our day, we have to try to speak with them and find harmony, find happiness. That's the word, I think. They have no happiness today. But because of who? Maybe because of the older generation. So, and sometimes they cannot find Passions. Job is something, work hard is something, and passion is different. You can combine them. I always try to find passionate guys that work with me, because if you are passionate, if you have passion on what you do, it's easier. No, they always say work for what you love and will be easier your life. I don't know how they structure, but that, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that's correct. And try to not work because you have to do it. Yes, you have to do it, we know, but try to find something that you love.
Those are some beautiful words. One last question, and this could award you the Nobel Prize for Peace or something like that. But if you had to make peace between Italy and France with a wine and food pairing, meaning like either an Italian wine and French recipe or a French wine with Italian recipe, what would your pairing be?
Something very classic. Okay, one of my favorite dish for is simplicity. Something that I always ask when my wife say, "What you want to eat Sunday?" Parmigiana di melanzane. Okay, something that you can eat everywhere in Italy. Every region has his own recipe, but you know you have this fried aubergines, eggplants, mozzarella, tomato, basilic, Parmigiano Reggiano, and a lot of love. Okay, this is a unique main, so is a poor dish, something that it owns to us. We can pair, because I already did it, with a French wine, pretty known. I won't say the winemaker, but you know Beaujolais wine, coming from the southwest part of Burgundy. It's not expensive. It's a Gamay grape, something that you can find today, but not the Beaujolais Nouveau, which is the Novello in Italy. The Beaujolais, one of this crew, because of its freshness, this crispness of young wine, like it could be 21 or 22. That's a red, crispy wine. It's fruity, spicy sometimes. So I think it could be good with the Parmigiana di Melanzane. Easier to prepare, to cook, and easy wine to find.
I love it. The Beaujolais and the
Ah,
Parmigiano pairing for the piece. Come on, like that sounds delicious and perfect, and it would bring so much love in this world. I'm sure of that.
I'm thinking about French recipe with Italian wine,
Yeah.
if you allow me. Maybe you already tasted, but the classic soupe à l'oignon, which is the onion soup. It's very simple. It's a poor French dish as well. So you have this broth, this bouillon, vegetable bouillon, with cooked onions, gruyere, râpé, and old bread. So it's one main. It's a poor dish. And in France, we pair normally with wines coming from Jura. But if you think in Italy, we have, of course, oxidating wines coming from Sicily, Marsala. So Marsala Vergine, which is the secco, the dry one, with these hazelnut notes, this oxidating sign, I think could match very well with the soupe à l'oignon.
Yeah, my mouth's watery right.
Me too.
I'm just craving for that pairing now. I would have never thought of it, but it makes completely sense, and I'm very
Yeah.
much looking forward to try it. So thank you, Alessandro. It's been a
Thank you so
real
much.
pleasure having you here with us today. Hope to meet you in person soon, to come to
Hope
France
so.
visit you. Thank you so much. I think this is a wrap.
Thank you, Italian Wine Podcast. Thank you, Carla. Thank you to everybody. I'm completely available if someone wants to speak with me and exchange or ask me something or about wine or other. Will be very pleasure for me. So thank you so much. Grazie mille.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Let us know your thoughts on our social media at Italian Wine Podcast and follow us to keep up with the next generation of Italian wine people. Cheers!